ॐ अखण्डमण्डलाकारं व्याप्तं येन चराचरं तत्पदं दर्शितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। नमो ब्रह्मण्यदेवाय गोब्राह्मणहिताय च जगद्हिताय कृष्णाय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः। वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुम्। Namaste everyone. Welcome to this session. This is our ninth session in the study of Bhagavad-gita. We are going through the concepts, theories and frameworks, and we are now on the topic of the three gunas of Prakriti. We have already been through two sessions of this, and in the last session we were talking about 12 aspects of life that the three gunas influence. Of these 12 aspects, we completed the first 9, which are Sukham, happiness, how Sattva, Rajas and Tamas influence Sukham. Then the second aspect was Ahara, food. The third, Buddhi, our intelligence. Fourth is our resolve, our resoluteness, Dhriti. The fifth, knowledge, Jnana, our sense of knowing, cognition, how we perceive this world. The sixth is the actor, the person, and their qualities. Seventh is the work that is done by the actor, karma, the nature of the work, the way it is motivated. Eighth is tyaga, renunciation or letting go. Ninth is tapasya. This is what we last did. We said that sattvic tapasya has three dimensions: body-based tapasya, speech-based tapasya, mind-based tapasya. You can actually map these three dimensions to the other two gunas as well, rajasic tapasya and tamasic tapasya. Though it's not elaborated, but naturally what applies to sattvic tapasya, the corresponding qualities in rajas and tamas, bodily, speech and mind, can also be worked out. So we completed 9, and today first I will do the next 3, 10, 11 and 12. After that we will go into the doubts and discussion, the reflection that you have brought, and then we will take it forward. So the 10th quality is yajna, or the 10th aspect of human life is yajna. And yajna means worship. That's a broad meaning of the word yajna. Specific meanings we will just touch upon now. Here, the distinctions between yajna on the basis of the three gunas is discussed in the 17th chapter. I'll just go to the 17th chapter. Here we are. Three shlokas, 17.11 to 13. So Sri Bhagavan says, Aphala-kankshibhir yajno vididrishtoya idyate yashtavyam eva iti manaha samadhaya sa sattvikaha. So in sattvika mentality, when worship is done, the motivation is that this is my duty. As a matter of duty, I do it. And it's done happily. Means duty, the sense of duty is a duty, is a sense that is rooted in the feeling of accomplishment. Means I feel good that I have done my duty, that I feel good that I'm able to do my duty. It is my duty. It's not about what I get from it in return. The opportunity to do my duty and the ability to do my duty and completing the duty, these are all the sources of happiness. The person feels good when they do this. Acha lagta hai. So this is sattvika. When somebody is under the influence of sattva, they would feel this way. So yajna is done as a duty because Shastra says that we should do it. Yajna, like I said, the broad meaning is worship. Now, how it is done differs depending on the context and the way in which that person has evolved spiritually and the path the person is taking. Now, the first meaning that comes to mind is the fire sacrifice, fire-based yajna, where we also say homa. a homa kund or yagya kund is made, in which, using bricks, then wood is placed, and then ghee is poured, and different other substances are poured, and then a fire is lit, and mantras are chanted. In fact, in the traditional system, even lighting the fire is not done with something like a matchstick or with something else which creates sparks. It is done by chanting of mantras. By chanting the mantras in a proper manner, the appropriate mantras by a qualified person in a proper way, Agni can be invoked in fire, in wood. But today we use matchsticks and so on because we don't have that training. We don't have, nobody today, I mean, very rarely you might find a person who can actually chant a mantra and then light a fire, but that's okay. So yajna through fire, through Agni, through the physical form of Agni is the most basic meaning of the word yajna. And the understanding is that in that fire, as mantras are chanted, offerings are made to the devatas. Yajna, of course, represents Vishnu, and Yajna is considered embodiment of Vishnu. Another name for Vishnu is Yajna. Yajnarthat karmanaha anyatra lokoyam karma bandhana, Bhagavad-gita, 3rd chapter shloka. There Yajna refers to Vishnu himself. But through Vishnu, or rather through that medium called Yajna, that fire, offerings are made to different devatas as a matter of duty. Human beings offer to devatas, and devatas in return reciprocate by providing what human beings require. In general, human beings require natural phenomena like fire, I mean, like the heat, like wind, water, etc., etc. So these are actually managed in the system, in the universal system, by different deities, by different devatas. That's the understanding. So by human beings doing their duty of offering different things to the devatas reciprocate and they give these things. These are in general. And then there are specific yajnas to get specific returns. Like somebody wants to improve their wealth, then they would do a specific yajna, make an offering to a specific devata by the chanting of specific mantras. They would offer things like ghee and so on. And then that devata will reciprocate by giving that particular thing. So there could be many, I mean, different types of material things that people want in return. So artha. So yajna is a means to satisfy that artha. That's also in accordance with dharma. So yajna done as duty because we are human beings. We do it as duty. That's one thing. Then yajna done because it's part of getting something in return specifically. That also is another way of doing yajna. And then those who want to spiritually progress, who want to come out of samsara, okay, on the path of yoga, path of jnana yoga, karma yoga, the different other yajnas which are not necessarily through fire. They can be through fire, where the fruit of that karma is given up. Like we said, karma yoga is done with the mentality that I do my duty, but whatever comes as a result of my duty, I will take only what is required to maintain myself and continue doing my duty. But anything else which comes beyond that is offered to Bhagavan himself, saying that this is not mine, it's yours. It's meant for everybody. It's not for me. So that yajna done in yoga also takes other forms. Like, for example, in the 4th chapter, Sri Bhagavan explains different ways in which different people do yajna. And all that yajna ultimately is rooted in our own activities. Different activities support that activity of yajna. For example, meditation on that Supreme Bhagavan in different ways. Bhagavan as an impersonal energy, Bhagavan as a conscious being of whom I am a part, Bhagavan as a very loving personality. There are different ways in which you can think about Bhagavan, and he reveals that in different places. And so, meditation on that Bhagavan through different ways, the different forms of meditation. He goes into some level of detail, but not everything. There he also refers to pranayama. Pranayama is one way by which the mind is focused on Bhagavan, controlling the breath and thereby controlling the thoughts and the flow of thoughts in the mind, etc. So this is also another way of yajna. But eventually in the 10th chapter, he says, Yajnanam japa yajñosmi, means among all the different forms of yajna, I am japa yajna. What is meant by japa yajna? Japa is a process by which the meditation is done on nama, on a particular mantra, repeatedly chanting that mantra in the mind. The best way to chant is to chant in the mind, where the body, the head, different parts of the body are completely still, like statue, and only the mind is active. And the mind is active on a particular mantra, hearing, internally hearing, not audibly hearing. Internally hearing the different syllables as the syllables are uttered in the mind, hearing the syllables or visualizing those syllables. For example, if I am chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, then in my mind I am visualizing Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, and so on. So, and doing it, holding the mind on the mantra with the feeling of love, with the feeling that this is Bhagavan himself, with the understanding. It's not just a feeling, it's an understanding that yes, this is Bhagavan himself, and I am contemplating on him, his qualities, his beauty, his wonderful nature, his very kind nature, very compassionate nature. So this kind of contemplation through the mantra is japa yajna. So this could be the mantra of that particular deity. We have a concept called Ishta Devata in our Sanskriti. So I gave the example of the Hare Krishna mantra, which is a meditation on Krishna of Vrindavan. But not everybody does that. Depending on the sampradaya they follow, somebody could be meditating on Sri Bhagavan as Shiva, somebody else on Bhagavan as, say, Ganapati, or as Durga, as Lakshmi, whatever way that they are attracted to. Depending on our gunas, we are attracted to different types of deities. What we feel most attracted to, that becomes our Ishta Devata. Also, Ishta Devata is established through the person that we go to. For example, the Guru. We become attracted to a particular personality as our Guru, and we understand that our Guru worships this Devata, our Guru's Ishta Devata becomes our Ishta Devata. Okay? Or in our family, our parents are our first gurus, right? Mother and father. Mother is the first guru. So our mother, father, they bring us up, and we don't know anyone else for several years until we grow up to a certain age. Okay, only then we meet our outside gurus. So our first gurus are our parents, and they may be worshipping some particular deity, Ishta Devata, and doing the japa of that deity. So that naturally may come to us also through them. We also start doing the same thing. So Ishta Devata and doing japa of the mantra of that Ishta Devata is considered the greatest form of yajna among all the different types of yajna. The greatest form of yajna is japa yajna. So in the 10th chapter of Bhagavad-gita, Bhagavan describes about his Aishwarya, and he talks about japa yajna as the greatest of all yajnas. Yajnanam japa yajñosmi, he says. So in Kali Yuga particularly, the Harinama Sankirtana, japa of Harinama, is considered the process for both for mukti and for prema. So we will talk more about that too. So I just mentioned about how Sattvika Yajna is done, where the motivation is duty mindedness, conscientiousness, and there is no craving for the fruits. Then what about Rajasika Yajna? Abhisandhaya tu phalam dambharthamapi chaivayat Ijyate Bharata Sreshta Tam Yagyam Vidhi Rajasam. So here there is a hankering for the fruit. Abhisandhaya tu phalam. Phalam abhisandhaya means keeping the phalam, the fruit of the yajna. What do I get by doing this? So there is a craving. And when I talked about yajna done for getting something specific in return, then that becomes Rajasik yajna. And so there is a craving for its fruit for oneself. I'm doing it for myself. I'm not doing it for public good. Of course, I may eventually use it for some public good also. But primarily, I want something for myself, and so I'm doing this yajna. This is Rajasika yajna. Or you can see here, Dambhartham means to impress other people that I am doing yajna. I am a very sattvic person. Okay. To show that I am sattvic, actually I am Rajasic. I'm impressing others. I want others to see this. Okay, so today the form that it takes is the social media. Whatever we do, we may not do yajna, but we do whatever activities. We go to a restaurant and eat something, and as I'm eating, somebody takes my photo. I get someone to take my photo, and I want to put that to show others. Look, I went to this restaurant and I ate this food. I'm sitting with all these people. So impressing others to obtain praise, fame, recognition, etc. Okay, that yajna is called Rajasika yajna. In the Mahabharata, one example that immediately comes to mind is Duryodhana doing what is called a Vaishnava yajna. And you might be surprised to hear this Duryodhana doing Vaishnava yajna because he hates Krishna, he hates Vishnu, so why would he do Vaishnava yajna? But this story comes at the end of the Ghosha Yatra. I will narrate the Ghosha Yatra to you more elaborately. I'll also send you my writing on that. At the end of the Ghosha Yatra, Duryodhana reaches a point where he is about to commit suicide because he's so humiliated by whatever had, whatever happened. And others then they rescue him. They somehow prevent him from committing suicide, and he's brought back to the kingdom. And he's requested to continue as the crown prince or the next king. And at that time, somebody advises him, and he decides to do this Vaishnava yajna. He actually wants to do the Rajasoya yajna, but he's not qualified. So the Brahmanas there tell him that no, you're not eligible for it, so don't do it. But in place of Rajasoya yajna, you can do Vaishnava yajna. So he does Vaishnava yajna, and his intention basically in doing that is to show the public that he's a very noble personality. He's got good qualities, impress them, and make them feel that he is a great leader. Okay, showing off. So he does it with that mentality, and Mahabharata describes that the Brahmanas who did that, they did it perfectly, and people were impressed with it. So he achieved his objective that he had in mind by doing that Vaishnava yajna. Okay, then Tamasika yajna. Vidhihinam Vidhihinam asrishtannam mantrahinam adakshinam shraddhavirahitam yagyam tamasam parichakshate. So vidhihinam means it's devoid of procedures. It is a yajna done by someone who is told to do it but doesn't have a heart to do it, who is tamasic in nature, who doesn't want to do it. But maybe it is, if he doesn't do it, then people will point out, you did not do it, right? It is part of his duty, it's part of his mandate. But he is not doing it because it's part of his duty. His motivation is doing it is to just prevent himself from being criticized by others. If he doesn't do it, then somebody will say, you didn't do it. Why didn't you do it? Somebody will scold him or somebody will embarrass him. So for that reason, he does it. And because he's doing it like that, he doesn't really have any shraddha, means he doesn't feel the need to do it himself. Within himself, he sees, what the hell is this? I have to do it, I'm forced to do it, so I'm somehow doing it. Therefore, he's not concerned about strictly following the shastric procedures. And, Annadan is considered an important part of Sattvika Yajna or Yajna. The way Yajna is prescribed in the Shastra, whether you do it Sattvic or Rajasic, you have to do Annadan, means you have to feed other people with love. Invite others to come and lovingly feed them. And only after they have all been fed, everybody is satisfied. They have given gifts and so on, and then they go, and then you have your food, not before that. Okay. Of course, there are certain procedures in which sometimes you have to have the food along with the brahmanas first. That's also a part of it. Whatever it is, you have to do Annadan. Now, and similarly, there is no chanting of proper mantras, and there is no gifting of priests and brahmanas. Normally, in a yajna or any kind of dharmic activity we do, whether it's yajna or dan or whatever it is, there is gifting. There is also respect, a lot of bahuman. It's called bahumanam. Bahumanam means showing respect to other people, whoever it is, the guests, the priests, the brahmanas, the kshatriyas, whoever comes, respect is shown to them. But the person who is doing tamasik yajna doesn't do it because he is not interested. He just wants to get rid of that process so he can prevent others from telling that you didn't do it, right? And he has no shraddha in the yajna itself. So this kind of yajna, which is done, externally may appear like it has been done. It complies with the process. But in essence, it is just tamasic and it does not give any benefit. Okay, it does not even get the benefit of what the Rajasic person got. The Rajasic person will get what he wanted. He wanted some particular return, and that will come to him because he has done it properly with the intention of getting that return. He has followed all the procedures, gifted the brahmanas, everything. But this person will not get even that because he is doing it grudgingly, with a lot of pain in the heart. And therefore, it is tamasic in nature. Good. So this is about the yajna, three types of yajna. We'll go back to the PPT. There is the PPT. I've summarized here whatever I just said. Now we will go to Upasya, the object of the worship. Who is being worshipped? In a sattvic mentality, the worship is of the devas, the divine beings who live in Swarga, who are actually very sattvic. Okay, they have become devas, those jivatmas. The devas also are jivatmas like us, but they are in Swarga Loka. They experience Swarga. We experience what is called as Bhuloka. Our existence is right now called Bhuloka. So Loka word is not just referring to a physical planet, but also referring to the state of existence, the consciousness. So their consciousness is very highly sattvic. Okay, and that's why they are devas. Of course, there is also rajas in them, and so you'll see that they aspire for material wealth or they feel insecure. Okay, when there is a lot of rajas, there is insecurity, and the devas also feel very insecure. So the sattvic person worships the devas. We are attracted to the different devas like Vishnu, Shiva, Durga, Lakshmi. They're all sattvic deities. Now, the Rajasic person is attracted to the yakshas and rakshasas. Okay, so yakshas are people, they're also like jivatmas. They are not devas, but they are not manushas also. We are manushas. They are a species of beings which are above manushas. Their consciousness is above and they have more sattva in them, more strength in them. They're more powerful and they can be very kind to human beings. Okay, if you treat them properly, they are very kind. They're very what do you call benefit. They give a lot of gifts and benefits and so on. They protect human beings, and they are on the side of the devas. Rakshasas are other types of beings, just like yakshas. So there are many beings like that: siddhas, charanas, gandharvas. They're all vidyadharas. They're all different types of beings which are not considered to be manushas. They are not devas also. They're in between them. They are like devas. So Rakshasas is another type of human beings, and another type of beings, not human beings, which have a different mentality. They are more, arrogant, aggressive. They oppose the devas. They have tendencies to do bad things. So they can also be sometimes in favor of human beings. They take part in sometimes supporting the devas in some contexts. So we see different kinds of situations. So they are people, yakshas and rakshasas, they are very materialistic. So Rajasic people are more attracted to them than to the sattvic deities, the devas, because the mentality goes along with the mentality of the yakshas. For example, we hear about Kubera. Kubera is a yaksha. He's a king of the yakshas, and he is sort of you can say the is considered the treasurer of this universe. The treasurer devas give their wealth to him. He keeps it secure. Okay, there's a lot of Puranic content on that. We can talk about it when we go into some stories. So Rajasic people are attracted towards yakshas and rakshasas, and tamasic people, very tamasic people, tamas attracts people to ghosts of various types. So different types of in ghosts also. Ghosts are what are ghosts actually? What we in English what we call ghost. In Sanskrit, say preta, pret, bhuta, bhuta, pret we say. So bhuta or preta means uh, jivatma which doesn't have a body between two bodies, between one birth and another birth before it gets the next proper body, the gross body. It exists in its subtle body in linga shariram without a gross body. So there is a reason for that. According to its karma, it has to live some time like that. So at that time, it's considered as a preta or a bhuta. And these beings also exist around us. We cannot see them because we don't have the ability. Our eyes don't have the ability to see them, but they're around us. They live around us. They have certain powers, and they can do certain kinds of things. Right. So within that, there is a gradation. There are ones which are more powerful, less powerful, etc. And it's just kind of suffering, being a ghost for some time, living like that before you get the next body. where you actually experience a lot of desire to enjoy different things, but you cannot because your body don't have a body to do that. So these ghosts of various types, they're attractive to the people, the human beings who are tamasic in nature. So in India, in many places, you will see ghost worship. Interestingly, once, when I was interviewing a student, I get every year, I'm also involved in the interviewing process for admissions. So I have interviewed in all the different programs like BM, HRM, GMP, or online programs, FPM. So when I'm conducting an interview, I meet, we get to interact with different types of candidates who are from different backgrounds, and we get to hear about their personal lives too, personal interests too. They share with us because it's an interview. So they share with us, and one student once shared with us, the interview panel, that he worships ghosts. He likes ghost stories and he is very inspired by ghosts. So we were shocked actually. And he was talking about it as if it's a very normal thing to do. So he says he feels very inspired. He reads very, 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 we call it, what would be very frightening to other people, those kind of ghost stories. And he takes a lot of pleasure in that. So we heard about this. So it's very realistic. People who worship ghosts are not people who are illiterate or uneducated. He was an applicant to the one of the PM or HRM or one of our flagship programs. And he was very educated. He answered many of the other questions very well. And I don't remember whether he finally got admitted or not, because that depends on many factors. But he was not some illiterate guy who was uneducated, who was irrational or something. But he's attracted to it. He's attracted to ghosts. Okay, so the attraction to different types of beings is not necessarily a rational thing. It's something that comes naturally from within us. It's our swabhav. Our swabhav drives that. And now we can see how the three gunas influence our swabhav. I'll come to that point a little later, how swabhav is a function of the three gunas. But you see how the three gunas play a role in this thing, right? Now, here too, let me just mention one more thing before I go forward, that within each category, there are different types. For example, within the devas, the different forms the devas take, there too, the predominance of the three gunas plays a role. Uh, let's take, for example, Mother Durga, the worship of Mother Durga. Now, among those who worship Durga, they worship her in different forms. Some of them worship her as Parvati. It's a very sattvic form, as the wife of Shiva. Okay, Mother Parvati, Amba. Some people worship her as Mother Kali, Bhadra Kali. Okay, where you can see the form of Kali, the same form, Durga as Kali is different from Durga as Parvati. Durga as Kali doesn't have a peaceful appearance. She's angry, extremely angry, right? Her tongue is out and she's licking blood, and her foot is on her husband. Her Shiva is lying below her, and he's trying to stop her from destroying this universe. She's extremely angry. She's holding a trident in her hand. She has got multiple hands holding swords, about to kill someone, and she's wearing a garland of skulls, not a garland of flowers, which Mother Durga is wearing. So she wears that. So some people are more attracted to that form of Durga than the peaceful form that other people worship. Like Parvati, if you worship her as Parvati, she's very shant, she's very peaceful, right? So this difference, even in the Devas category, okay, she's not a ghost. Kali is not a ghost. She's also a Deva, but the form of the Deva that she takes is more attractive to people who are tamasic in nature, people who fear, people who are very insecure. They worship her for their security. They offer her animals. Sometimes in worship of Kali, they offer human beings, a child. They kidnap a child and offer that. So this way, even within each category, there are more sattvic, more tamasic, less tamasic people. Okay, so this should be kept in mind. Okay, then the 12th one is finally dana, generosity, charity. So here too, sattva, rajas, and tamas. I'll go back to the Bhagavad-gita shlokas. Where is the screen? Just give me a second. I look at the screen where yeah, here it is. So, yajna, finally, dana, wait. We're still in Yakya. Dana is in 17.20. So we'll go to 17.20. No, somehow the keys get pressed wrongly. Yes. Satvik Dana is here. Datavyamiti yat danam diyate anupakarine deshe kale cha patre cha tad danam satvikam smritam. It says danam, the dana which is done as datavyam means that which ought to be done. It's part of my duty. Okay, I am responsible for donating whatever I earn, regardless of whether I'm on the path of yoga. So this is not necessarily on the path of yoga. Even a person in samsara who is very sattvic, okay, who has no understanding of yoga as something like coming out of samsara and so on. Even such a person who's very sattvic, who wants to do things as a matter of duty, does dana as a matter of duty. So, datavyamiti yad danam diyate anupakarine means the person who's receiving the dana may not give anything in return in future. Okay, not only at that time, at the time of receiving dana, that obviously is not expected. When you give dana, you don't expect that that person will give you some money or something, otherwise, it's not called dana. But there is no thinking that, okay, today I'm giving him dana because I am now creating an obligation. Okay, this is how normally favors happen in society, right? When we give a favor to someone, we might be thinking that, okay, today he has come to me for help. I'll readily help him because I know that tomorrow I can go to him and he will give me something in return. So people in society conduct themselves in a very favorable manner with others. They are very sociable, very favorable, very kind, because that kindness is motivated by the thinking that tomorrow I will receive. If I do good to others, tomorrow others will do good to me. So today I have given something to Tiwari ji. Tomorrow, when I require it, I'll go to Tiwari ji and I will ask him for help and he will surely help me. Okay, this thinking. So this thinking is absent in Sattvic Dana. Completely absent means I give dan and I don't want anything in return. Consciously, the person says, I just want this person to be happy, the person to whom I'm giving this dan. Okay, diyate anupakarine. Deshe kale cha patre cha means consideration of the place, time, and so on. So the Shastra also tells that dan should be given within this time of the day. You should not give, for example, at midnight. You don't do a puja and give dan at that point of time. There are certain muhurtas. Time is seen as a good time. Every day there are certain muhurtas which are good muhurtas, which are not so good, etc. So time, place. You won't be standing in a graveyard and giving dan. You'll probably in a temple and giving dan, or in a puja room in your house, or in a clean place in some place where yajna is performed. So place, time, etc. And patra. Patra means a qualified person, appropriate recipient. Qualified means appropriate person. For example, if I'm giving the dan of a godan is considered one of the highest dan, a cow. Okay, a cow is giving a cow in dan is considered a very, very high kind of dan in our Samskriti. So if I'm giving a go as dan, then I won't be giving it to someone who doesn't know how to take care of that go. Otherwise, the go will be mistreated. Go is meant to be worshipped. It's meant to be taken care of just like our mother. Okay. Even for our own mother, we may not do puja. We don't have something called Amba Puja on a yearly basis, but Go Puja is something that's mandated. Every year there is a day called Go Puja. Even otherwise, people do puja of their go because go is said to be the embodiment of all the devatas. Okay, there is a reason for that. I will go into elaboration on Go Seva and Go Puja and so on some other occasion. But when Go Dan is done, then the person to whom the go is being given should be a person who knows how to take care of her. So a Brahmana, eligible Brahmana who knows how to take care of the go, such a person becomes an appropriate recipient. So similarly, if it is some other kind of dan, for example, Kanyadan. Kanyadan is done by a father of his daughter to a eligible bachelor. Not necessarily a bachelor. In those days, a person could marry multiple women. But whatever, eligible boy. Person who is qualified means who comes from a good family, who knows how to conduct themselves properly. So he will take care of my daughter with love, with affection. with proper respect. He will not mistreat my daughter. He will not use her in a wrong manner. Okay, he will give her her responsibilities and she will be able to progress spiritually. So this is Kanyadan. And Kanyadan is given to an appropriate person. You don't just give your daughter to somebody, get rid of her. So that's not the way it is done, right? So this is called Satvika Dan. So all this is Satvika thinking, and this comes from the understanding of Sattva. Now, what is Rajasik Dan? Yattu pratyupakarartham phalamuddishya va punaha diyate cha pariklishtam tad danam rajasam smritam. So dana done with the thinking that, you may not explicitly say it, that what do I get in return? Okay, today we say that also. Today we ask, what will you give me? But obviously, in a more cultured setting, it's only in the mind. You think in the mind that I will get something, but you don't ask for it. It's understood. So you give something to that person, you make him very happy, and you speak good words to that person. And you feel at the end of it successful because you know that now you have created an obligation. You can go to that person at the right time and get whatever you want in return from that person. And you're very happy to give it to a person who is in some position of power or who's got some talent. So you're now cultivating that person. You're sort of nurturing that relationship so that at the right time you can tap into it. So this kind of dhan is called Rajasikyan. Diyate cha pariklishtam. So in the mind, there is regret. There is that feeling that I am taking a risk. After all, this person may not give me something in return. Tomorrow, he may just enjoy what I gave, but I may not get anything in return. There is a feeling of pain in the heart. There is that feeling of caution, that concern. Okay, there is a regret in parting with it. Although you don't show it outside. Outside, you show a big smile. The smiling face, you do it, but internally, there is no smile. There are tears. There are tears internally. Okay, this is called Rajasik Dan. Okay, so this is what we see a lot today. Then the third one is Tamasik Dan. Adesha kale yat danam apatrebhyascha diyate. Asatkritam avagyatam tat tamasam udahritam. Very similar to tamasika yajna. It's done because if you don't do it, then society will point out. You're supposed to do it. But you have no shraddha in it. You have no conviction that this is meant to be done or it's good for me or good for society or good for anything. It's a useless thing. It's completely, some ancestors have written something in some book. And today, we people, irrational people do this kind of thinking. Okay? The so-called educated people. Today, some people or many people think like this also. So you may see them doing it. You may see them doing it. Of course, outside the face, on their face, they will look, proper. They won't look like they're angry or something. But internally, they're frustrated. They just want the damn thing to get over. What the hell am I doing? Wasting my bloody time on this damn thing. This fellow has no sense. I'll wait till this guy goes away and then just throw everything out. So it's done without any concern for Shastra, just to show the procedure of doing it. And whatever charity is given, it has to be given. So it's given. So it's given to an unworthy recipient without considering that this fellow is qualified or this fellow deserves or knows how to take care of it. Nothing. No proper time or place. It's just done. And it may sometimes involve disrespect to the recipient. So if there is a priest who is involved in doing it, you don't treat the priest with appropriate respect. You just treat him with the minimum courtesy required to get the work done and get over, and then finally give him his money and shut the door on him. So this way, when it is done, it is tamasik yajna, and it does not give dana. Sorry, I beg your pardon, tamasik dana, and it does not give even the benefit that rajasik dana will give, because you're doing it with this kind of mentality. So this is about the three types of dan, and altogether now we have actually gone through the 12 different aspects of human life that the three gunas influence, and we can see that in this discussion clearly that there is a relationship between them. There's a difference between the way sattva, rajas, and tamas influence these aspects of human life, and there is also commonality. We see common, themes across these 12. So I've sort of created a table which I can share with you later in this Word file, how we can recognize the influence of the three gunas on ourselves as well as others. Okay, that's the benefit of studying this in detail and contemplating on it. I could identify four dimensions: the purpose of life, the goal of life, that is one dimension, then the state of mind, mental state of that person, then the person's outward orientation towards society, the external society, and then internal tendencies and likings, four dimensions. And I sort of compiled these points by going through the different shlokas. You'll see things like in sattva, there is a sustained sense of purpose, there is calmness and peace in the person, there is a very weak craving for sensual enjoyment, there's a sense of inner joyfulness all the time. Concentration is generally very high in a sattvic person. When they study something, for example, they're able to maintain their, focus, very sharp focus on the sentences they read, the meanings that come from those sentences. They're able to absorb very quickly. There's very clear thinking. Strength, inner strength means even when there are difficult times, let's say, for example, suddenly the current goes off, okay? The power goes off, the current is gone, and there's no light. Then the person who is sattvic will not become so disturbed. The person who is tamasic may get very disturbed and start cursing, using very bad words. Okay, the person who is rajasic will start feeling frustration or anger. But here, the sattvic person will just say, "Oh, what happened? Current chala gaya." Then he will figure out a way to overcome that. Maybe he'll look for a candle or something, light the candle, and continue studying. Okay, without getting any disturbance in the mind. So similarly, confidence, fearlessness, stability. Okay, now external orientation, things like harmony with the outside people means conducting themselves in a way that is, not disturbing to others, ahimsatmak, in a polite way, which is harmonious and only to the extent required, not more than that. Okay, there is general detachment. There's liking for solitude, going to a solitary place and remaining like that, enjoying the beauty of nature, appreciating the beauty of natural, design, liking for knowledge, liking for balance, liking for simplicity. So this is sattvic. And if we see these qualities in us, then we should know that we have some sattva in us. Now, similarly, to know whether we have rajas in us and the extent to which we have it, these qualities are, sort of indicators. So a person who is rajasic has frequently changing goals and purpose, not happy with what they do for some time. They do something for some time and then that becomes boring. So then they find something else which is exciting. So excitement and boredom are like that sine curve, up and down, up and down. Something exciting, then it becomes boring. Then something else becomes exciting, then that becomes boring. Keep changing. So no sense of sustained contentment. Contentment is short-lived. Okay. And this comes along with a strong craving for sense objects. So today's society largely, and this largely comes from the West. If you go to the West, if you spend time in the West, even if you go for a short tour, let's say, even if you go to a country like Singapore, Singapore is not as much as much westernized as the hard Western countries like the US, European countries. Singapore is partly India. There's a lot of Indianness also in Singapore. But even there, you'll see that the sensual enjoyment, the society is geared up for that. Everywhere you will see that objects of enjoyment displayed and people, going for them, people going after them. Everywhere there's food arranged, people are eating different types of food. And you don't see that in India, that level of, grandeur. It's slowly coming, but it's still not so much. So the strong craving for sensual enjoyment and all this, fluctuating between the contrasting qualities, joyfulness, sadness, fluctuating between that, concentration, distraction, clarity of thought versus ambiguity of thought, inner strength sometimes weakness. So this fluctuating nature, lack of that stability you see in sattva, you see in rajas, and all these things. And so here in rajas, there is a liking for attention, liking for public praise, doing things to increase one's visibility to others, doing things to, that's why in the Western culture, you'll see them saying explicitly. Americans train their children to become extroverts, means they should say that I am good. They should talk about their own good. They should say, for example, when you write a paper, you will see this advice that you should tell why your paper is the best, why it, what is good about it. You should not say that, I'm humble. You should not show humility there. You should show that you're good. You should show that explicitly say that you're good, you're great. Explicitness in your own showing. Okay, this is a Western thing. In India, we say no, we hesitate to show that we are good. Others can say that. Others should say that we are good if we are good. But we don't crave for that too. We just say that, okay, if there is something to say about me, others will say it. I will not say it. But here it is the other way. And this is Rajasic in nature. Now in Tamas, what we read about, you can see it here. This lack of clarity, ambiguity, fuzziness of thought, inner weakness. There's no strength. There's no confidence. Feeling of low in confidence, depression, dejection. I'm no good. I'm useless. I will never be able to make it. Whatever I do, others will say it is wrong. So fear of criticism. Okay, fear of criticism comes in tamas. It's because of tamas. As doctoral scholars, this is important for you because when you write a paper, now you're going to write papers to submit to journals. You will find that you will receive very strong comments from reviewers. Reviewers will very explicitly say why your paper is not good, what is wrong with your paper. Okay, and you are not used to that. You're always used to people. Even if they want to say something is not good, they'll say it indirectly. That's how normal society is. But when you go for a blind review, when you get a blind review from a reviewer, they may use some polite words sometimes, but they will use strong words. And at that time, you should be able to take it. The first time it happens, you feel shocked that somebody is saying this, and you feel you don't know how to take it. But as scholars, we have to overcome that. In the world of academic scholarship, it is common for a peer scholar to strongly criticize our work, and we learn how to welcome that. We want that. We want the criticism. We learn how to welcome criticism because that helps us to improve our work and make it better. And eventually, our work gets published. And finally, when it gets published, the editor and the others, the reviewers' last comments will be that this work is now good enough to be published. It is now making a contribution, and we feel good when we hear that. So this eventually the whole process has got a sattva in it because it gives us pain initially and then gives us pleasure at the end. It gives us happiness at the end. Okay, that's the property of sattva. So we should learn to overcome that fear of criticism, which comes from tamas, that fear of ridicule. And that is why people, when they come to a doctoral program, they initially go through this struggle of how do I present? When I present, all the other scholars are watching. What will they think of it? They will all criticize me. They will all think they will find faults in my work. So we become defensive. But no, we learn that we should not become defensive. When somebody points out a fault in our work, instead of becoming defensive, we should thank that person. Okay, thank you for pointing out. Let me think about it. But of course, we have to defend our work. Defending our work doesn't mean becoming defensive. Defending our work means trying to explain why what we did is, is not exactly what the other person is thinking, trying to justify what we did, but not in a defensive way. Defensive means trying to close ourselves to the input that the other person is giving. That's what is meant by defensive mentality. So defending our work is not done with a defensive mentality. Defending our work is done with an open mentality. The mentality to invite more criticism so that we can further improve it and justify to ourselves and to others why that work is good, why that work is solid. Okay. Now, tamasic mentality doesn't favor that. That's why in a scholarly work, tamas has to be completely given up. Of course, tamas also involves things like, there is deep attachment to things, obsession with doing the same thing again and again, very high level of irritability, low tolerance, anger, very quick anger. If somebody gets angry very quickly, short-temperedness is a symptom of tamas. Okay, a person who is rajasic may feel anger coming within them, but they're able to control it. They have a sense of control because they have objective. They have to do something with some objective to get something in return, right? But in tamas, even that much thinking is not there. They will express their anger. They'll start shouting. They'll start expressing their irritation, throwing things, breaking them. All this is a function of tamas. So this is something I'll share with you. And the same thing, what I showed you in the table, I have made it a little shorter here. Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas. I'll share this also with you. You can go through it. And I'm doing this because it might help you to take it forward into your research. If it helps you in your research, I'll only be happy. So I'll take a break now, and if you have any questions, I also have your doubts listed to discuss now. But before that, would you like to say anything on whatever we have spoken so far?
So, is it possible to characterize each and every behavior of a human being under these three gunas?
Yeah, predominantly. What we can say is that this behavior is predominantly because of this guna. Okay. What we learned now so far is that all the three gunas, they are present or they influence a given individual at all times. There is no time when only one guna is acting, the other two are absent. At all times, all the three gunas act on each person, on us. But at any given time, one of the three gunas is more predominant or predominant over the other two. Okay, so when we see a particular behavior, we can interpret that behavior in terms of which guna is predominantly driving that behavior. But when we say behavior, we should also take into account the inner motivation of that person in doing that behavior. It's not merely external action. The action by itself is not, rajasic, not necessarily rajasic, sattvic, or tamasic. The action by itself may be performed, the same action may be performed by somebody motivated by a sattvic mentality, by a rajasic mentality, or by a tamasic mentality. So it's the mentality with which one does the action which decides whether it's sattva which predominates there, rajas which predominates there, or tamas which predominates there. So every time you see somebody behaving in some way, you may not be able to conclusively say this is because of this rajas or tamas or sattva. You might only say it could be because of rajas, it could be because of sattva, but only when you get to know the person or get more information about why the person did like that, then you can interpret more accurately whether which guna was predominant in that person's action. Understood?
Yes, sir.
One simple example is, let's say, a mother scolding a child angrily. Okay, mother shows anger on the child. Now, somebody else is scolding another person, X is scolding Y. Now, one of them, the mother scolding the child, could be very sattvically done. The mother is not really feeling angry inside, but she's feeling very concerned about the child's well being. The child is doing something, the child has to be corrected. That behavior of the child has to be rectified. The child, for example, goes near let's say, the cooking area, and it can get hurt. It can get cut by the knives which are there, or it can get put its hand in the fire without knowing what it's doing. It may burn itself by touching some hot object. So the mother doesn't want the child to come to the kitchen. So the mother has told the child many times, but the child does not listen. It keeps coming to the kitchen and doing mischief there. So finally, one day the mother, shows a lot of anger. It's not really angry; it's very concerned. The child should not get hurt, but it expresses anger outside. The mother expresses anger outside on the child to stop the behavior. Mother tells the child, if you do it again, I'm going to beat you. So the mother actually beats the child a couple of times and say, you will get beaten if you do this. Go away. And so then the child, out of fear, may stop coming to the kitchen. Whereas elsewhere, you may see somebody scolding another person in the same way, but completely out of tamas. That anger was not required there. In that situation, anger was not required. It could have been dealt with in a completely different way. But that person, because of being in tamas, quickly gets angry and out of anger starts shouting at the other person. So the same behavior of anger could be because of sattva or because of tamas, or in some other place out of rajas also. So I'll give you a simple example that merely by action don't conclude, but look for that underlying motivation, the mentality with which that person is doing that activity before we conclude.
Yes, sir. So it's right.
Yeah, yes, please. Yeah, Vedangi, you are trying to say something? No? Okay, no problem. Even if she's speaking, I'm not able to hear her because her mic, yeah, mic is unmuted.
Am
Okay.
I audible?
Yeah, now you're audible. Are you speaking
Okay.
something?
Yes, sir, I am.
Did you want to
Uh,
ask
so,
something? Yeah.
yes, sir. Sir, how does one move from one, from being like for some particular activity from being predominated by one particular guna to another?
How does one, for oneself, you're asking, how does a person go from being
No,
tamas,
hmm.
right?
Because I cannot change somebody else. So if somebody wants to learn, how do we move from one state to another, or one for one particular activity, how do I move from one particular guna to the next? So how do we do that?
Yeah, yeah. So this is by changing aspects of one's own living. One has to internally transform oneself with changing one's internal thinking by contemplation, by knowing now, by, for example, now we have knowledge of these things. So contemplating on this knowledge, assessing oneself, why did I do that activity? Why did I do it that way? Could I have done it differently? Does everybody else do it this way? Do the most mature people do it this way? Does my guru do it in this manner? Would my guru do the same thing if he was in my shoes? This kind of contemplation. So, contemplating and correcting oneself, feedback, giving oneself feedback based on one's own past actions. So, this process by which one transforms oneself, one's inner being, this is called our antarmana, changing our inner self, through which our behaviors will automatically change. So this is the process. Now, exactly what kind of things we should focus on for changing, I've made a small section of our presentation for that. I'll be coming to that a little later, either today itself, if time permits, or in the next session. We'll talk about exactly what kind of things we should focus on to transform ourselves to become more and more sattvic, right?
Okay, sir.
And this way, we can first transform ourselves and we can then also influence others positively. The whole thing can be a positive transformation. Good. Now, going forward, I'll quickly go through your doubts and discussion. Most problems in this world come from the dominance of Rajasic and Tamasic tendencies. It is said that right education is the panacea for most evils. So, if we ensure that education that we impart to our children is focused on enhancing their sattvic nature, not just through the syllabi, but also with respect to their environment, their teachers as role models, the food that they get to eat, we can eventually get rid of most problems. And it's even more important for management teachers and management institutes to do their part in planting the seeds of sattvic qualities in them, because the business leaders that we produce today will define how our world will be in the next 20, 30 years. I can't agree more with you. I fully agree with this. And you actually have touched upon a couple of points I would have wanted to make about how to transform ourselves, like the food to eat, the actions, the teachers that, as teachers, what do we do? So I fully agree with this, and this is what all three of us should do. Tomorrow you will also be teachers. Sarthak has just joined us, so I'm sure he also agrees with all this. This is from Vedangi. Can the predominance of the three gunas in business leaders explain the business decisions that they take? Question two is, can interventions designed to enhance Sattvika Guna help ambitious employees, Rajas dominated, bring more balance in their work, life, and rest? Can Trigunas and top management team members predict the psychological climate of the organization or its organizational culture? Yes, my answer to all three of them is yes. The predominance of Trigunas in the leaders definitely can explain the business decisions that they take, because a person who's more sattvic will consider not only their short term profits, will consider the long term impact of whatever they do on the environment, on the well being of their employees, physical well being, the mental well being. They will make provisions to ensure that employees' well being does not degrade because of the work that they give them. See, on the one hand, a business leader has to ensure that their company is profitable. So now, how to do that? In the course of doing that, if the focus is only on profits, then the leader, as we see in many cases, may compromise on their employees' well-being. They may push their employees madly, threaten them with, not giving them promotion or threaten them with transfers, like it happens in banks. I hear from bank employees that, how they are treated by their superiors. Uh, they're told that, if you don't do this, I'll transfer you to some other branch in some village, or I will transfer you to a place where your relatives are because you did something good for me. So this kind of activity is rajasic, tamasic. So leaders, how they actually take care of employees, definitely the predominance of the three gunas is reflected in the decisions they take. No doubt about it. And similarly, environment. Employees is one thing. The other thing is the effect on the environment at large, society, how it influences society, the pollution that comes out of my work, the kind of materials I use, the plastics that I use, the kind of things that I do with the land, where I buy the land, how I operate, whether it disturbs other people. Can I do the same thing without disturbing or minimizing the disturbance to others? This thinking comes from the influence of the three gunas. And definitely it can explain the business decisions. You can actually analyze cases and read, because in ethics, some of these cases are taken up. The word trigunas is not used there, but you can make out that clearly, done with a selfish mentality or with a less selfish, more selfless mentality, we can make out. Can interventions designed to enhance sattvic guna help MB? Yes, very much. Very much interventions. And this is what we should do actually as management teachers, as students. We should think of interventions that organizations can create, like simple things, even very simple things which many organizations already are doing, conducting yoga programs for their employees, teaching them and encouraging them to participate in wellness programs like morning meditation, uh, reading of uplifting literature which motivates people to become better human beings, etc. So definitely this can help employees bring more balance in their work. Yes, trigunas and top management members predict the psychological climate very much, like it's connected to the first question, and thereby the culture too. The psychological climate of the organization will shape the organizational culture. So yes, trigunas and top management. In fact, you can actually address some of these questions in your own work. You can study organizations. In India, you will find particularly organizations where the top management is strongly influenced, the founder of the company or the current leaders, the CEO, the people who are running, uh, are actually practicing some form of spiritual life. They are attached to some particular ashram or some guru, one of the Sattvic gurus, and they practice, and their way of doing their work is influenced by that. You will find many examples in India. And one of the good ways to find, if you don't know anybody right now, you can approach an organization. You can go to one of the organizations well known, like Ramakrishna Mission, for example, and ask the monks there, can you guide me to some business leader who is, guided by you? And that monk might point you to someone, and then you can go and interview that person. You might be able to locate and do your study through people like that. So you can bring these things into your research. I'm giving you vague, I'm not giving you something specific, but I'm just showing you broad direction. Then Vedangi's question is, can career development programs that focus on not just career enhancement, but also development of sattvic leadership lead to more empathetic leaders? Yes. Does it also influence the strategic decision making, like we just discussed? Very much it does. What should management teachers do to play their role in enhancing, producing sattvic managers and leaders in B school? This is a question I've been asking myself, and I keep asking this every day. So what I've done so far, I can share with you that I've written a few stories like the way cases are written. I'll share those stories with you today, all three of you. You can read them and give me your feedback. I think with Ashita, I might have already shared something, if I recollect. I can share with Vedangi and Sarthak too. Now, I'm using these in my MDPs. Some of the MDPs I'm doing are connected to discussing these things, and the participants I find are very responsive, except a few. Many of them actually like these thoughts, and they reveal to us how they can also bring in their work. So we can actually do a lot. Management teachers can do a lot. One is through conducting exclusive sessions. You can conduct courses. You can design courses in our institutes, wherever we are, which are fully focused on bringing out the knowledge from the Bhagavad-gita, from the Puranas, and so on, and the way the students think. You know, see, you ask Sarthak, for example, who is now with us. Sarthak says that during his MBA, one of the useful things that he got was attending Bhagavad Gita classes, right? And he also attended the full course that Professor Kumar Alok takes on Indian philosophy, and he says that had a big influence on him, on his now current decision to go and pursue the career the way he's going to pursue now, right? Sarthak, am I right?
Pranam, sir. Yes, sir. Absolutely.
Yeah. So, what do you think about this question from Vedangi? What should management teachers do to play their role in enhancing Sattvic managers and leaders in B schools?
Sir, what I feel is primarily, as we also discussed in the last session, the current economic development that is taking place, so it has to be Rajas driven. Uh, Currently, India is not moving forward, but it is mainly because of Tamas, not Sattva. But when this Rajas is guided in a manner of Dharma, then we can have this positive outcome. So again, all of these three gunas, when they are directed towards Dharma, then we have positive outcomes. So maybe I think, as you said, the MDP programs that you are conducting, so we can channel that Rajas, and maybe r- the decision making may not only be just out of autopilot in sense of Rajas, but a conscious decision making, which is okay. I am focused on profit making, but there is something else as well. I will not go for profits at any cost. There has to be some justification for it as well. So this is something which comes to the top of my mind. But again, for managers, we would still need people with both sattva and rajas. This is what I feel right now.
Good. Thank you. Yes, these thoughts can be developed, and this is something that we should make our students aware of, that these kind of things exist, and then what we are in the larger universal picture. So, one of the things that is completely lacking in today's education is that, you know, this life is our only life. This is the understanding. This life is our only life. This world that we live in, the earth, we are living on this earth, and that is all of existence. Although we are very much aware of the universe around us, we don't care. I mean, we don't really think that there is anything that it really implies for us. Astronomy, astrophysics, and all these things are only a matter of curiosity, academic curiosity. They fulfill our desire to, satisfy curiosity. That's all. Otherwise, there's nothing like there are beings outside, and but the Indian knowledge system makes us aware that we are actually a tiny component of this universal system. We are very, very tiny. We are nothing. There are so many other beings existing all over the universe, and we are just a small part of that harmony. And if we learn how to be harmonious with that universal being, with that universal consciousness and the universal system, then we benefit. We live, become happy. Whereas if we think that we are the only things which exist, we are the only beings in existence, and this earth is the only place where anything matters, and this life is the only life which matters. If this narrow thinking is there, then we suffer. Ultimately, it leads us to all kinds of problematic situations. So, making students aware of this bigger picture, the larger picture, the universal picture, is, I think, something that we should consciously do through this Indian knowledge system. Vedangi, what are
Yes,
your
sir.
what are your thoughts after hearing this?
So of course, I think so having those kinds of discussions within the classroom, or in fact, more importantly, having those discussions informally with the students, I think those things can really matter a lot. So formal setting in formal settings, things become a little bit more one-sided. But when it is more informal, when it is more like when we are meeting students and when we are discussing with them as a just as two people having a simple discussion, then people are also more receptive and they might be open to these kinds of ideas.
Right. So this should not only be in the purview of a classroom, but even beyond the classroom, they should stretch into the hostels and the JLDs and so on. Right? Good.
If it can be done, it would be really nice, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's think of it. You're here for another 3, 4 years, and Sarthak will also guide us with his thoughts. So we will think of how to bring these things both into the classroom and outside the classroom. Think of programs. Why do we rarely ever see people who predominantly show sattvic qualities? Why do we see rajasic tendencies being highly rewarded and praised? Yeah, that's the nature of the age in which we are living. So we have Satya Yuga, Treta Yuga, Dwapar Yuga, Kali Yuga, and now we are going through Kali Yuga. Now, the Shastra explains that in Sattva Yuga, you will see the other way. You will not see so much rajasic tendency, you will see sattvic qualities predominant. People are very sattvic. And slowly, as Satya Yuga turns to Treta Yuga, and then it becomes Dwapar Yuga and Kali Yuga, slowly the Rajasic and Tamasic qualities increase. Sattva decreases as you go from the Satya Yuga to the Kali Yuga. And in Kali Yuga too, we are now only 5,000 years roughly. The time period now, Kali Yuga started about 5,100 years back. The exact date some people have calculated. Now, Kali Yuga's total duration is 4,32,000 years. 4,32,000. 4,32,000 years is the total duration of Kali Yuga. So it's going to last another 4,27,000 years. And it's described that it's going to get worse and worse and worse. Okay, so today we see a lot of rajas in people, but let's say another 10,000 years from now, that rajas will be much less. There'll be much more tamas in people. Tamas will dominate more and more and more. So as it goes forward, sattva will become less and less and less. Rajas and tamas will increase, and rajas also will decrease, and tamas will predominate. As it comes towards the end of Kali Yuga, it's described that people will be very highly tamasic. People will eat each other. Okay, food. Just like now, there was a time in India when you know eating meat was considered not civilized. Within Varnashrama, meat eating is not accepted, or it's only practiced in extreme cases where there is a yajna where some meat preparation is required. Or in some yajnas, some animal is killed and that meat is used as a part of that yajna, not as a food, not as normal diet. But today in India, meat has become normal diet, right? We celebrate meat. We have meat displayed everywhere. We have open butcher shops. Cows are killed, even though there are government laws which prevent that. At least now there are, but it will slowly go away. Now, killing a cow has become a normal thing, right? So there will be a time, the Shastra says, when killing a fellow human being and eating the meat of that fellow human being will become a normal thing. Like the way now killing a cow or killing a chicken and eating that is a normal thing. Killing a human being will become a normal thing. Nobody will think it's crime. It is food. Maybe there's an old person, old age. When old age comes, what is the use? That person has become invalid now. So we can kill. There will be a factory for that. People will have factories to kill old people and provide food to the others who are living. So this will be the normal. I mean, already there are some societies where it is done. There is a society, there was a serial I saw, I think Amir Khan produced it. Amir Khan serial, where he showed how the society in Tamil Nadu, in somewhere in southern Tamil Nadu, it's some small community. It's not a mainstream practice, but in that small community, when people grow old, what they do is they just kill that person. Just take that person to some place outside the village. The person is completely old and helpless. Okay, now what do? We take care of them, right? We are supposed to take care, and we do. We do take care of our elderly people. We ensure that till the last day of their life, they live happily. But in this particular community, when they see that the person is getting older and older and becoming more a burden to the other people, they just take that person to some point outside the village and they just kill that person. They use a big weapon or something and they finish that person. Done. And they're talking about it. They interviewed the villagers, and the villagers are openly talking about it. It's not considered as some crime or something there. So this is already prevalent in human society. Okay, it must be happening elsewhere too, not only in this place in Tamil Nadu, but it may be happening in many other places in many other countries too. So this is Kali Yuga, and this will keep increasing as it goes forward. So it's bad news, right? Said something very bad today. Okay, now this is from Ashita. I think tamasic knowledge as obsessive attachment to trivial activities is that all family members, friends, and office colleagues are engrossed in their phones instead of talking to each other and building real connections. Yes, a happy and successful married life revolves around the husband and wife understanding the value of mutual dependence rather than emphasizing individuality. Absolutely. Developing objectivity, avoiding subjectivity, attaching our own meanings, and seeking clarification can help resolve conflicts in any type of relationship. Fully agree with all of this. I've seen my friends who use LinkedIn, Instagram, often start comparing their lives, living standards, accomplishments with others instead of embracing individual differences, getting inspired by others. They discount what they have and what they have achieved. Yes, it's predominantly Rajasic in nature. Because if somebody is predominantly Tamasic, then they won't do even this. They'll be too lazy to do this, or they will feel, what is the point in doing this? Kuch nahi milega. But the person who is Rajasic at least thinks that I can show myself off. I can show how successful I am. I can show others this that, and this kind of personal. What is called as a dark trait. These are part of dark traits. Actually, both Rajas and Tamas are covered in those dark traits in your psychology. I'm sure all of you are familiar with that. Narcissism, Machiavellianism, and something else, isn't it? So, yes, Rajasic and Tamasic gunas are prominent there. And here, mapping different Indian leadership styles to the Triguna theory of personality. Example, nurturant task master leadership can be mapped to Rajasic guna. Indian leaders exhibiting Kudam, consultative style of leadership, fosters interconnectedness and autonomy rooted in dharmic purpose, can be mapped to Sattvika guna. For attaining short-term goals, Indian leaders exhibit Rajasika guna, and for achieving long-term goals, they demonstrate Sattvika guna. Now, Ashita, can you explain what you meant by all this? What is meant by nurture and task master leadership?
Yes,
I'm not.
so nurturing taskmaster leadership is basically when an employee joins the company. So initially, what the managers do, they kind of take care of the employee, nurture them, and then once the employee is well versed with whatever is going on in the organization, have the hands-on experience, then at that point of time, when a manager kind of tries to intervene and he doesn't so at that point of time employee expects the autonomy, and if at that time the manager, he or she, like if he or she intervenes, then they do not like this kind of behavior, and when do not they do not like this kind of behavior, employees, they exhibit the feeling of resentment. So in that case, what the manager has the tendency of kind of creating an obstacle and uh, not letting them display the autonomy. So this is what the entire cycle is that nurturing taskmaster leadership has talked about. So I think that kind of can be mapped to the Rajasic gun. Like if we try to integrate all Indian leadership theories and then map it according to Triguna personality of theory, I think it will fall under that. And then there's this recent paper on decolonization of Indian leadership style, like going beyond that thing. So in that paper, it has predominantly mentioned that Indians should do not practice, like Indians should integrate from the Western theories as well. So there, it has mentioned that they can, of course, keep the Kudam, which is consultative style of leadership, which fosters interconnectedness and autonomy. So I think this Kudam, if we take particularly from that, it can be mapped to Sattvic Guna, because whatever papers I was reading through, for example, there was this paper by Professor Mahadevan where he has mentioned about the he has mentioned about the leadership traits from Bhagavad-gita. So there he emphasized upon leaders. They serve their employees and they keep their employees' needs before, and they consult their employees and then make decisions. For example, Professor Kumar Alok has also mentioned in his Sattvic leadership paper that he has given the example of Ram. That Ram, he does not take all the decisions by himself. He does not expect his he did not expect what who all were there in his court to just nod in everything and show conformity at whatever decisions he take. So he would consult them and he would actually prefer the brainstorming and all those things. But when we talk about the short term goals, in short term goals it is not possible for leader to always consult their employees and then take decision. So I have tried to kind of interlink those things. And I believe that when it is for short-term goals where leader has to take the entire decision, which is not sometime, which might not be sometime based on pro-environmental behavior. So that would come under Rajasic Gun. Like here, the focus would be predominantly on the leader mentality that ones we were discussing about. But when it comes for long-term goals, for example, sustainability and everything, that could be mapped under the Sattvic Gun.
Right. Correct. Fine. Now I understand what you had in mind. The third one, the point you made about short-term goals exhibit Rajasic Guna, for long-term goals exhibit or demonstrate Sattvic Guna. What did you mean by that? So
Yes.
in the short term, they would the same leader would do something different, and for long term, they would do something different.
Yeah, so short-term goals, by short-term goals, I mean, for example, if they have some projects on which they need to take, for example, there is competition from the market, and they have to, like in that case, of course they do not, they might not have the focus on the sustainability or well-being of employees. And if project is like they have to meet a stringent deadline and they have to overstretch and work for longer hours, in that case I think Rajasic, so leader has so I think in that case, Rajasic Gun will be predominant because leader himself will focus on all those activities. But when we have long-term goals in terms of sustainability, well-being of employees, pro-environmental behaviors, I believe that is the Sattvic Gun that leader demonstrates and presents signal to the entire team.
Okay. 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 I want you to sort of think over this particular point a little bit more, because in my understanding, we should look at Sattva, Rajas, Tamas in terms of the inner mentality more than the outer action. How the person thinks, what their actual values are. That we should find out by one is talking to them, seeing their past actions, and also talking to their employees, how they feel, why the leader did like that. When you talk to a leader's employees who have been interacting with that person for a sufficiently long period of time, or if not interacting with that person but has been in the organization for a sufficiently long period of time, they have an understanding of why things are done in the way they are done, what drives those actions. So understanding the underlying drivers reveals the thinking of that person more than the action itself, the thinking which drove the action. And then I think we should connect it to the gunas more than just the action. So it's possible that a person who's very sattvic may take certain decisions to help the company face competition in the short term, but also create long-term good benefits for the organization and the employees. Keeping their long-term interest in mind. So that person is not becoming rajasic for the short term and becoming sattvic for the long term. That person is always sattvic, but takes different types of actions appropriately. When a person is sattvic, they can also face competition. They also know how to face competition properly. They will know even better than the person who is rajasic. Do you follow what I'm saying? They are not greedy themselves, but they know how to help their organization face an external environment which is filled with greed and lust and everything.
So
You get
person can be sattvic, but then in order to fulfill the current goals of the organization, he does all these activities.
yeah, yeah. For example, the Pandavas are fighting a war, the Kurukshetra war, with the intention to destroy the Kauravas and their army, to kill them, right? But they're not doing it out of tamas or rajas. They are guided by sattvic thinking. Their mentality is sattvic, dharmic. They are not doing it because they want to, claim enjoyment. They're not doing it in pursuit of the material enjoyment they will get by winning the kingdom. They don't want that. What they just want is that dharma should prevail. A dharmic society should form. A dharmic society should exist. Dharma should continue in our lineage like it has been before. Krishna wants that. Bhagavan wants that. It's our seva to Bhagavan to do this. This war is done not because we want material wealth for our enjoyment, but because it's our duty to establish dharma. Similarly, a sattvic leader may run a company with the thinking that this is my responsibility. This company is in the business of providing these goods and services to society, which are required by society. Society today requires these goods and services. So, as a leader, it's my job to safeguard this organization and make it grow to be able to provide those goods and services in a sustained manner, in a manner that benefits people. So, with this thinking, that leader may take decisions to ward off the competition, to face the competition, which to an outsider may appear rajasic. But the mentality driving that leader is a sattvic mentality. Just like the Pandava, when Arjuna shoots his arrow at, say, Dronacharya, he's shooting it not with a rajasic mentality. His action is externally rajasic in nature. It appears like that. So I want you to think in terms of mentality, if it is possible for, to bring it into your research like that, in terms of the underlying consciousness or mentality, the way of thinking, the mindset, rather than just the action itself. Think over it. It's not something that we can conclude right now, but think. Yeah, Sarthak, please.
So the course which I had taken of Dr. Kumar Alok, there were some cases that we discussed. So, two cases where the Sattvic leadership was prominent. Those were one was the Delhi Rail Metro Rail Corporation. So Dr. Sridharan or Mr. Sridharan, I don't remember, but the one who is very famous, the person
Yeah,
from
Sridharan,
Kerala
yes.
as Metro.
Sridharan Nair, yes.
Yes, so his case was discussed and how he actually implemented and was able to successfully implement the development of a world-class project in a given timeline. So, if we look at the metro development in India, Calcutta began had pioneered it, but it took lots of years, I think decades, for them to complete. Or metros in other cities are not as successful or were not that good as it has been in Delhi, and it is basically a benchmark for others to follow, guiding light. So how he was able to do it? So there, Sattva was quite predominant,
Yeah.
and other case that we saw was that of Dr. V. So he has a chain of hospitals in South India, but both these are not profit making per se. So those are organizations which are dedicated to a cause, or there is a bigger cause to handle. But so their tough decisions have to be taken. There are certain cases, certain times where, since this is a metro project, so there are timelines that we'll have to do this. There are a lot of stakeholders. There would be a lot of clashes. But since there is a bigger picture in mind, a bigger purpose in mind, so the Sattvic component is able to drive seeing that purpose, why I have to do that. So these, I just wanted to mention these cases so that the interested ones can look it up if it is of some help to their
Yeah,
research.
yeah, yeah. So, a person with a sattvic mentality too can take decisions which are very aggressive in nature, which appear like the actions of a person who is greedy and driven by selfishness. But actually, this person is not driven by that mentality. He is driven by a larger goal, the goal for a larger good. So, good. Thanks for sharing these things. And I think we can find many cases like that of people who are driven by a predominantly sattvic thinking. Many of these NGOs also might get people like that, but whose actions are very aggressive. They do things very rapidly or take harsh decisions. They may actually dismiss employees. They may even do political things to get the work done. But their mentality is not like that.
So dharma reigns supreme.
Dharma, the concern for dharma is what drives them, not what they will get in return. So it would be good to bring this into formal research. If some of these things can be unearthed well and brought into research, please talk to Professor Kumar Alok also, Ashita and Vedangi, if you are trying to bring these things into your research. He also has a very good understanding.
Sure, sir.
Okay, now I will not continue today because we are beyond the time. So we have at least one more session, the next week's session, and we will complete our discussion on three gunas. There are a few more things to tell, important things connected to three gunas that I need to mention. So we will do that in the next session. After that, we will discuss how to take it forward beyond that. For today, I will close now, but just one thing to ask is next week on December 31st, Wednesday, I'm not available. I have a guest visiting us on that day, so I have to be with that person. So either on Jan 1st or 2nd or 3rd, depending on what is convenient for the three of you. I'm okay with even Jan 1st, but is that good for you? Because you might want to celebrate New Year that night, the previous night with your friends. I don't know. I'm okay with it. Or we can have Jan 2nd if that is better for you. Jan 2nd is Friday, or Jan 3rd is Saturday. That's also okay for me. Yeah.
So I think just to be on a safer side, let's plan for 2nd Jan. So right now, as of today, we do not have any plans as such, but we might have some certain plans in the coming days. So just to be on a safer side, let's keep it on 2nd.
Okay. What about Ashita, Sarthak? You're okay with 2nd Jan for the next
Yes.
class? Okay, good. Good then. Sarthak also is okay, I presume.
Sir, I may have to travel near the year end. I'm not sure about it, but anyways, these sessions are primarily for the PhD scholars, so I'm
Yes.
fine anyways.
Good, good, Sarthak. Thank you. So then we will have our next session on Friday, Jan 2nd. Thank you. And with this, I will do the Antamangalam for today and then we can close. Om Swasti Prajabhyah Paripalayantam Nyayena Margena Mahim Gobrahmanebhyo Shubhamastu Nityam Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Dhanyavada. Thank you.